Hello! This series of videos will familiarize you with the dangers of elemental mercury and the proper way of cleaning up a spill. This video will help you understand the importance of preventing mercury spills or minimizing their impact if one occurs. ATSTR's Don't Mess with Mercury website is a great resource to learn more about mercury.
Elemental mercury, often abbreviated by its chemical symbol, Hg, is present in many common items found at schools and homes. Your school might even have containers of mercury in science classrooms. It is a good idea to take an inventory of mercury and mercury-containing items so you would know where mercury is located at your school. Many mercury spills at schools also happen when students bring mercury from home to show friends. Because there may be mercury in your school, it's important that you know its characteristics. Elemental mercury is a shiny silver-gray metal. It is the only metal that is liquid at room temperature, which makes it both useful and dangerous. Useful because as a metal it conducts electricity, and as a liquid it flows, so it can be used in ways other metals cannot. Mercury is dangerous because it is very toxic and should not be handled, swallowed, or breathed. When mercury is spilled, it flows in many directions, and its high surface tension causes it to form droplets and to break into tiny beads that can roll into tiny cracks in spaces where they are hard to see. Mercury also is dangerous because it can vaporize. Once in the air, mercury vapor cannot be seen and has no odor, which means you can be breathing mercury vapors without even being aware of it. What's more, mercury doesn't go away. Once spilled, even tiny amounts can stay in the room for days or weeks, filling the air with its vapors.
Exposure to even a small amount of spilled mercury can cause a variety of health effects. The health effects of mercury depend on how much and how long you breathe in the vapors.
When elemental mercury is spilled or a device containing mercury breaks, the spilled mercury will produce an invisible, odorless vapor that can make you sick. When mercury is heated or dispersed into tiny beads, it will vaporize very quickly and can be more dangerous. Exposure can last a long time if the spilled mercury is not cleaned up promptly and thoroughly. Breathing mercury vapors is the most common way to be exposed to elemental mercury and is the most harmful to your health. Very little mercury is absorbed from touching it. However, getting mercury on your skin or clothing increases the likelihood of spreading it and of inhaling vapors coming off of mercury stuck to your clothing. If mercury is swallowed, most of it passes through your body and very little is absorbed, with the exception of a broken compact fluorescent bulb, which has a minute amount of mercury. Even a small spill, such as from a broken laboratory thermometer, can produce hazardous amounts of vapor if the room is small enough, warm enough, or people spend a good deal of time there.
For most spills that are identified and cleaned up quickly, most people will be exposed to low levels of mercury vapor for only a short period of time. Health effects are unlikely, and those health effects will improve once people are no longer breathing the vapors that come off of the mercury spill. Health problems usually result from either long-term, low-level, or short-term, high-level mercury exposures. While mercury can impact many organs in the body, the main health effects are on the central nervous system, that is the brain, and on the kidneys. Health effects on the central nervous system include feeling anxious, acting shy, not sleeping well, loss of appetite, and feeling irritable. Pregnant women, infants, and children are especially sensitive to the harmful effects of elemental mercury because of their developing minds and bodies. This is why it's particularly important to identify students who've been exposed to mercury. In the cases of very high exposures, individuals may require testing for mercury levels in their body and medical care. But most spills that typically occur at schools, especially ones detected early and cleaned up properly, lead to short-term, low-level exposures that don't require testing or any medical treatment.
Mercury spills have the potential to cause significant problems at schools and in people's homes. Spills can lead to significant property damage and loss when items are contaminated with mercury.
While mercury can be removed from some items, other items must be thrown out and replaced. When mercury permeates porous materials such as found in carpeting and backpacks, it is either impossible to remove or the removal process itself damages the item. If a mercury spill is not identified quickly, students may unwittingly spread mercury contamination beyond school grounds. Mercury spill cleanup and the replacement of lost school property and goods can cost the school a lot of money. The school day may be disrupted if parts of the school have to be closed off to allow cleanup. Costs may be associated with lost school days or in alternate classroom locations due to school closings. Let's hear from a school official who has experienced the consequences of a mercury spill.
Our mercury spill happened on a Friday morning at one of the busiest high schools in the Omaha area. This particular school is and was mercury-free. No environmental mercury in the science classrooms, no thermometers, barometers, or mercury switches. A student brought an unknown quantity of mercury to school. We were very lucky that one of the other students knew the dangers associated with mercury and told one of the administrative staff. As it was, the custodial staff recognized the beads of mercury, isolated the hallway, and wrapped the drinking fountain to prevent further use. It is unfortunate they forgot part of their training and used a vacuum as part of their cleanup procedure. But replacing that piece of equipment was far less costly than had the mercury been transferred to secondary locations. The mercury spill ultimately resulted in the cancellation of afternoon classes and evening activities, and the dismissal of students about 12:45. Weekend activities were put on hold until everyone was certain all the mercury had been found and cleaned up. Before students arrived on Monday morning, a staff member retested the area to verify it was safe for reoccupation. The same year as this spill, another high school very similar in size to ours experienced a mercury spill that cost that district hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Even if you have eliminated all sources of elemental mercury and your school is mercury-free, there is always a possibility that a student could bring mercury to school and cause a spill. Planning and preparation can minimize the health and financial consequences resulting from a spill.
ATSDR's Don't Mess with Mercury website provides information and resources that can help you prepare for a spill by following these simple steps. First, fill out a mercury contact sheet listing whom to contact should a spill occur at your school. Second, inventory mercury sources at your school. Consider using a school map to make notes and mark the locations of sources of mercury and mercury-containing items. Obvious places to look include science classrooms and teaching labs, the school clinic or health room, custodian closets, locations where thermostats with mercury switches are located, HVAC and engineering rooms, and of course, everywhere there are fluorescent light bulbs. You may also use the inventory to take steps to control access to protect the sources from spillage and to inform school staff where these sources are located. The third step to protect your school is to make a mercury spill kit to clean up small spills. To make this spill kit, first collect the following items: a box of gallon-sized zipper-top plastic bags, a 1 pint to quart size plastic jar with a screw-top lid, a box of large trash bags, 2 to 6 millimeters thick, a box of rubber, latex, or nitrile gloves, several pairs of rubber booties to wear over your shoes, 1 or 2 rolls of paper towels, several pieces of unbent cardboard, several pieces of paper, 2 eyedroppers, 2 rolls of duct tape, shaving cream, several small fine bristled brushes such as paintbrushes, a small dustpan, a bright flashlight, powdered sulfur or similar material, and a razor knife with a handle. Store the spill kit and contact list in a sturdy, closable storage container. It should be in a safe, secure, and easily accessible place. Be sure staff knows where the kit is stored. Remember, spill kits can only be used to clean up small spills, like spills that happen when a small thermometer or a light bulb breaks.
Your actions, as a school official on the scene of a mercury spill, are critically important to reducing the spill's impact.
First, instruct everyone to stay where they are. Then quickly size up the amount and area of the spill and identify the people who are potentially exposed to mercury. Second, tell everyone to move away from the spill as quickly as possible, making sure that everyone avoids the spill area as they leave. Then, those near or involved in the spill should have their shoes, clothing, or other items such as backpacks inspected for mercury. Leave any contaminated items in the spill area. Next, isolate or close off the room to minimize the spread of mercury vapors in the school. This action will include shutting air vents and closing doors and turning off the central air system to stop air circulation to and out of the spill area. Ventilate or air out as much of the spill area as possible. Open windows and position fans to blow mercury vapors out of the building. Finally, never use a vacuum or broom to try to clean up mercury. This breaks up mercury into small beads and will worsen the spread of the mercury.
The size of a mercury spill is critical to determining how you respond to it. A small spill is one that you can clean up using your school's mercury spill kits. A large spill is one where you need to seek outside professional help to properly clean it up. If you are not sure whether a spill is small or large, call for professional help.
Examples of mercury spills that are considered small are when a fluorescent light bulb, a small thermometer, or similar object containing only a small amount of mercury breaks. Any larger amount of mercury spilled should be considered a large spill. However, keep in mind that even a small size spill can become a larger problem. Mercury tends to break into droplets when spilled, can spread easily, and can build up into tiny cracks, for example, between floor tiles. If the spill is not discovered right away, or there have been a number of people walking in the spill area, potentially spreading the contamination, then it may be necessary to get professionals to help assess and clean up the spill.
Now that you have made your spill kit, let's follow step-by-step instructions to clean up a small mercury spill at your school.
The first step is to retrieve the spill kit. You may also want to request the help of others, like the school custodian or engineer, who are trained in mercury cleanup. Take the kit to the location of the spill. Open the kit near the spill, but outside the area where the spill occurred. The next step is to put on the proper personal protective equipment, or PPE, to protect from getting mercury on yourself or your clothing while you perform the cleanup. Put shoe covers over your shoes. If you don't have shoe covers, put on an old pair of shoes that can be thrown away after you finish the cleanup. Mark the area where the spill occurred with caution tape or another barrier to prevent people from entering the area and potentially spreading the mercury farther. Take off any loose clothing and all jewelry. Store these items in a safe place away from the spill. Avoid touching and spreading mercury with your PPE. Your PPE should remain mercury-free throughout the cleanup. Only the items in the spill kit should come in contact with mercury. Put 2 pairs of disposable rubber, latex, or nitrile gloves on. Carefully inspect the spill area to contain and mark it. Ask people who were involved in the spill or saw the spill occur to identify all areas where mercury might have spilled, as well as areas that may have been contaminated by people as they evacuated the spill area. Now start cleaning up the mercury that is spilled. Begin by cleaning up the mercury that you can see with your eyes. Place into a plastic trash bag any contaminated clothes, shoes, backpacks, books, or other items left behind by those who were involved in the mercury spill. Look for anything porous that may have been contaminated, such as seat pads or anything that is hard to reach places, like a keyboard, and place these items in a trash bag. Put pieces of broken glass and other hard items contaminated with mercury on a paper towel. Fold the paper towel to prevent items from spilling out, and put this in a zipper top bag or a screw top plastic container. If mercury spilled on a carpet or rug, do not try to clean it. Instead, use an eyedropper to collect visible drops. For carpet, use a razor knife to cut out the carpet and any underpadding within the spill area. Carefully remove the rug or carpet and any underpadding together to avoid spilling mercury and place it in a trash bag. If the mercury spilled on a hard, flat surface, use cardboard to gently scrape mercury drops onto a piece of paper. Pour the drops into a zipper-top bag or plastic container containing a damp paper towel. Repeat this procedure if mercury can be seen on the floor where rugs or carpet have been removed. Use an eyedropper to collect mercury beads if this is easier, and squeeze the mercury out of the dropper into the same zipper-top bag or plastic container. Now clean up the mercury in the spill area that you cannot see. Pat the area where the mercury spilled with duct tape and put the used tape into a zipper-top bag. You may also put shaving cream on the tip of a small paintbrush and gently blot the affected area to pick up small mercury drops. If available, you can use sulfur powder or another dry commercial mercury-absorbent material to clean up the drops of mercury that are too small to see. Pour the powder over the spill area. Using a small brush, gently brush the powder onto a piece of paper and put the material into a zipper-top bag. Note that sulfur makes drops of mercury easier to see because it causes them to change color. It also causes the mercury drops to join together, which makes them easier to clean up. Be very careful when using powdered sulfur, as breathing it may be harmful to your health. Put the duct tape, paper, brush, and anything else that touched mercury in zipper-top bags and zip them shut. Double check the spill area and any other areas that may have been contaminated, including the areas outside the marked spill area for mercury that you may have missed. Mercury can move further than you think, especially on hard, flat surfaces. Therefore, check the whole room very carefully as you perform the following procedures. Make a careful, slow visual survey of the room where mercury spilled. Then, turn off the lights in the room. For each surface where the mercury spilled or may have spilled, hold your flashlight at a low angle close to the surface and look for the reflection of drops that you might have missed during the cleanup. Keep in mind that drops of mercury may stick to surfaces or hide at small cracks. You may need to do this survey more than once to capture all the mercury. Patience and diligence is important when cleaning up mercury. Store the mercury that you have cleaned up from the spill area properly so it doesn't escape and recontaminate the spill area, or contaminate other areas at school. Place all zipper-top bags and screw-top plastic containers that contain mercury-contaminated items, and all cleanup materials and tools into one or more large trash bags. Place these trash bags with the trash bag or bags you filled earlier containing contaminated items. If anyone is still wearing clothes or shoes that might have mercury on them, they should take them off and put them in a trash bag. Seal each trash bag containing contaminated materials shut with duct tape. Place the bag into another large trash bag. Seal the second bag shut with duct tape. Label the outer bag with a tag that says mercury. Just as important as wearing PPE to protect yourself from becoming contaminated during cleanup is removing your PPE after the cleanup is through. Avoid contaminating yourself and your surroundings in the process. Remove shoe covers and place them in a trash bag. If you did not use shoe covers, remove the throwaway pair of shoes and put them into the trash. You should take off those shoes and shoe covers before you leave the spill area so that you do not spread mercury to other areas. When you take off your shoes or shoe covers, you can step out of the spill area into the area that was not contaminated, thus avoiding potentially contaminating your shoes that were inside the booties or the socks that were inside the throwaway shoes. Remove one glove and then the other using the special technique shown, and then place them into the trash bag. If you are wearing clothes that might have mercury on them, take them off and put them in a trash bag. Finally, remove the second pair of gloves using the special technique and seal and double bag the PPE according to the same procedure shown earlier. Place all the sealed double bags outside in a secure place on the school grounds. They should be stored until they are either properly disposed or they can be screened for mercury. Now that you have cleaned up the spill, take these additional steps. Ventilate the room where the spill occurred by opening windows and using fans to blow air in the room to the outside. Ventilate the room for at least 24 hours after the spill occurred. Keep the cleanup area isolated from the rest of the school. Make sure doors and ventilation vents are closed. Keep students and school staff out of the cleanup area. Consider hiring a professional to check the mercury levels in the air in the school. Finally, you will need to properly dispose the bags of mercury-contaminated materials you gather during cleanup. Contact the school's insurance carrier or your local health department, fire department, hazmat team, or the state or federal environmental agency to find out how to get rid of the materials according to all regulations.
If more than the amount of mercury in a small thermometer or fluorescent light bulb spills, or if a small amount of mercury is tracked through the school, you have a large problem.
Do not try to clean up a large mercury spill. That is a job for trained professionals only. Evacuate the area where the spill occurred right away. Get the mercury contact sheet from the spill kit and call the proper authorities, such as the local health department, hazmat team, or the state or federal environmental protection agency for help. If more than 1 pound of elemental mercury has spilled, that's about 2 tablespoons. You must call the National Response Center at 1-800-424-8802. Let's hear from a representative of the EPA who has experience in cleaning up large mercury spills at schools.
EPA and/or your state or local environmental agency can help you successfully complete a mercury cleanup and achieve the goal of protecting the health of students and school officials and get the school back in full use. It is important to hire contractors that have experience conducting mercury cleanups. If not done properly, the mercury contamination can be spread further, increasing the cost and time needed for the cleanup. Experience with mercury cleanups also teaches what works and what doesn't work. It is often easier to dispose of certain items, such as upholstered furniture, carpeting, etc., rather than spend the time and effort to try and clean them, which often is not successful. An assessment of the area needs to be done by experienced professionals using air monitoring equipment and visual observations of the area. The assessment determines the nature and extent of the cleanup that is required. The cleanup begins with trying to remove as much of the remaining mercury as possible. Once all the obvious beads have been collected, then vacuuming of the area can begin. The vacuums used are specially designed for mercury cleanups with a device that captures mercury droplets and filters to capture mercury vapors.
By preparing for a mercury spill at your school and familiarizing yourself with the many local, state, and federal agencies available to help you, you will be able to minimize students and staff exposure to mercury and potential harm to their health.
Now that you know about elemental mercury, its risks, how to prepare your school for a mercury spill, and how to quickly and effectively respond to and clean up a spill, let's see how well you remember some of the most important points that you learned. We have a quiz with 3 multiple-choice questions. Answer each question and we will review the correct answers together. Okay, let's begin.
First question. What is the most common and harmful way that you can be exposed to mercury when it is spilled? A. Mercury touching your skin. B. Breathing mercury vapors. C. Swallowing mercury. The correct answer is B. Breathing mercury vapor is the most common way to be exposed to elemental mercury and is the most harmful to your health. When elemental mercury spills, it vaporizes, becoming an invisible, odorless, toxic vapor that can be harmful to health when breathed. Second question. What items are needed to clean up a small mercury spill? A. Flashlight. B. Gloves. C. Duct tape or shaving cream. D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. These items, as well as zipper top bags, trash bags, paper towels, cardboard, eyedropper, and a contact list should be included in your spill kit. Final question. When should you call a professional to clean up a spill? A. When the amount of mercury spilled is more than what is in the small thermometer. B. The spill is spread to several areas in the school. C. When you are unsure of the safe or proper way to clean up the mercury spill. D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. All of the above.
Thanks for learning how to respond to a mercury spill at your school. Visit the Don't Mess with Mercury website to learn more. And remember, don't mess with mercury because mercury is anything but cool.